Hi, my name is Kevin McDonald, and I'm declaring my independence. Independence from what? Why, negative thoughts and energy, of course. Chief among them, hate, division, and fear. You see, I know that we're all one, and together we can solve any problem, save our planet and each other. Please, join me as we come together as one and choose a better way to be. So now, let's begin with my independence report. All right, welcome back to Positive Talk Radio. My name is Kevin McDonald. I'm your host here on KKNW 1150 AM. We are here with Eric, and coming up right now, we have an author who has been traveling the highways and byways of the United States. She's been talking to a lot of people about her book, which is called Soul Power, and this isn't about the civil rights movement of the 60s.
Oh, I thought it was going to be the Barry White biography. Soul Power, maybe Isaac Hayes, forward by Isaac Hayes.
Yeah, exactly. No, this is about SOUL power, and this is about the power of our soul. And Nikki Carteret is with us. And Nikki, how are you?
I'm very good. Thank you very much, Kevin.
Very good. And you're back home in Canada.
I am. I arrived back yesterday after a wonderful tour down in your country. I went up and down that whole West Coast, talking to people, doing book signings, being interviewed on TV and radio, and it was just a real treat for me to be with you all.
And it's a wonderful treat that you've left us with, which is your book.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
And I love it because it's soul power, the transformation that happens when you know. What exactly does that mean?
Well, it's really about knowing at the level of experience, Kevin. Many of us have a lot of information. We read a lot of books. We take in a lot of things. We go to a lot of workshops. But one of the things about spirituality is many people are finding that it starts to make more and more sense once you bring it down to a level of your own personal experience. In other words, really learning how to make spirituality real and practical for yourself in your everyday life. Then when you've done that, then you know, because you know it from inside. You know it intuitively. It's part of you.
That is, at the base level, that's where we all need to get it down to, unfortunately. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it really is a simple yet very difficult process, isn't it?
Well, it's both. It's simple if you enjoy the journey. And, I traveled, as I say, up and down the West Coast, and so many things could have gone wrong, and with a car and traveling and this and that and the other. But I was determined just to really enjoy the journey. And I think that's also true of spirituality. If we set our compass in the right direction and we say, through all the ups and downs of life that I'm bound to go through, I mean, we can't say life's going to be, without any setbacks. There are setbacks in life. But if I set my mental compass, my emotional compass, saying that, I'm really going to enjoy this. This is going to be good for me. I'm going to have fun. Then no matter what we go through in life, we see it as part of an overall learning and growth process. And that's the way I see the spiritual journey. And we may encounter a dark night of the soul. We may encounter, some very severe challenges. And believe me, I've gone through many myself, and I've met many people who are in that same process. And so our attitude and our acceptance are very important. So I call that the spiritual AA, attitude and acceptance, both.
Absolutely. I had one of those mini things happen to me this very day, as a matter of fact.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know how sometimes you're late to where you're going?
Yes.
Well, if I have a peculiar problem and I've had to do this one time because traffic was bad. I had to start the show from my cell phone on the way here. Right. But in this case, I was a little bit tardy, and so I was a little bit late. And it seemed like have you ever done this? You need to get someplace quick, and every red light, every slow driver.
You hit everything, yeah.
You hit everything all at once. Now, you have a choice of how you can handle that.
Yes, exactly.
You can get all upset and you can whine and moan and berate it, or you can enjoy the experience of feeling the feelings that go along with it.
Absolutely. And, one of the things that I talk about in the book and also in the seminars that I run, I talk about the power of soul presence. In other words, when we are truly connected to ourselves as spiritual beings, then we can start to be in this present moment, enjoying each moment of life. And we're so conditioned, I think, now to see life as hard, as difficult, as work, as pressure, as stress, that we forget that when we can just sit in the moment, even in the moment of a traffic jam, traffic problems, red lights, etc., that those moments can open up into beauty.
Yes.
It's amazing how that can happen.
It's all a matter of your perception and the compass that you set for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Now, let's talk about your story, because something happened to you at 22 that changed your life, didn't it?
Yes, absolutely. I was a student in Paris, and I was had a very severe car accident. A driver who was drunk was going up the street the wrong way and crashed into our car, and the windshield shattered and fell into my face. And so I found myself to be profusely bleeding from the face. And at that time, I didn't know if I had lost my right eye. To cut a very long story short, I was taken to hospital. And as the surgeon was about to do his operation, I realized in the midst of that I had a choice. Either I could stay in fear and pain and uncertainty, or I could switch my thinking and send the surgeon really good thoughts, really powerful thoughts of love, and thoughts that he would do a really good job on my face, which in fact he did. And a friend of mine who was a doctor in Paris said that I was really, really lucky, because on Sundays in the evenings they have all the junior doctors on. And he said, I can't believe the job this surgeon did on your face. It's wonderful. So I knew that at that moment that the power of the thoughts and the power of good thoughts can bring good things to the self and can induce healing. So I began to heal myself day by day using meditation, surrounding my face with light. And one day, just out of the blue, it was quite extraordinary, all of my consciousness coalesced, if you like, or condensed into a single point in the center of my forehead. And my consciousness literally went out into another dimension. And I found myself away from the body in another dimension of light, in front of a being of light. And I had no control over what was happening to me. I was suspended in this other dimension of light. And this being just poured energy on me, poured love, poured light, poured healing power onto me. And when this being was done, doing what was needed, I returned again. My consciousness returned again to the body. And it was, I sort of spent a long time crying after that, because it was nothing that I had willed. It was something that had just happened. And much later, of course, I acknowledged to myself that it was God, that God, this being, beautiful being of light, had healed me in one of my darkest moments.
Now, he had healed you physically or more
physically and spiritually. And I think it was spiritually foremost, but physically also, because when I went to see the surgeons a little bit afterwards, they said to me, what have you been doing? Because your face is healing so well. They couldn't believe it. And today I still have slight scars on my face. So in a way, although I was scared at 22 that I was going to be scarred for life, and it did change my career choice, because I was wanting to be a TV journalist, a non-camera journalist, and so I couldn't do that with scars on my face. But now if you see me, I just have very faint lines, and now I tell people, you see these scars? This is really the proof that God loves me, because God healed me in that very difficult moment. And that really became a turning point for me, Kevin. I unknown to myself, I began pursuing a love of spirituality in a very deep way. And that became much clearer to me later on, just how deep that shift had occurred in me.
Well, when you went through the meditation and then you had the experience with the light, you then recognized that you were no longer alone. Exactly.
And although I was alone in Paris, technically, I was without friends, without family, in a little dark room, but God really did make me know, help me to see that even in our most challenging of situations, and this is the message I really have been sharing with people across the United States and Canada, is that, some of us are right now facing great times of difficulty, financial, emotional, whatever it can be. And so I hope that, for listeners to your program, they'll hear this message that no matter what our difficulty is, no matter what our challenges may be, that behind each situation of difficulty, there is light.
And when we come... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, eventually we do come back into light, Kevin. I'm not even necessarily the light of God. I mean, that can be there. But even the light of recognition, the light of insight, the light of understanding, we do come out of the dark tunnel and into light.
When we come back from this break, we're going to talk about that and the process that you can use to get there. We'll be right back after this. Stay with us. We're talking to Nikki De Carteret, and we're talking about soul power. We'll be right back. Welcome to Positive Talk Radio. My name is Kevin McDonald. I'm your host here on KKNW 1150 AM. And Eric, as usual, I've slaughtered somebody else's name. Nikki De Carteret is the author that we're talking to. Correct, Nikki?
That's right, Kevin. Thank you.
And the book is called Soul Power.
You can do it if you really try, Kevin. Just got to put the mental effort towards it, and you can make it happen.
You can do anything if you set your mental mind towards it.
That's right. You could even say Harry Connick Jr.
I cannot say Harry Connick Jr.
There
I did.
You did it.
Hey, amazing. Yesterday
he was having trouble with that one.
Yesterday he was Henry
Connick Jr.
That's exactly right. Okay, Nikki De Carteret, we're talking about soul power, and you are now on a spiritual mission of sorts, because as you know, as we talked about during the break, we are in a period of time which is very negative, and there's a lot of fear, apprehensiveness, and problems for everyone.
That's right.
How are you helping us cope?
Well, I think what I would like to be doing, and what I am doing, is sharing some important spiritual messages so that people can begin to fine-tune, if you like, their spiritual compass. We are living in times of difficulty, chaos. Some people might even use the word darkness, as one TV interviewer said to me. And for this, people are wondering, like, how do we make it through? How do we cope with all of the stresses and strains around us? And my message is very simple. If you really take time each day to connect to a still place within you, I call it the still point. That's the soul. The soul is that still place where we can be totally connected to ourselves and to our inner resources. Then we find a place of stability no matter what's going on around us. Because one of the things that I've been sharing with people is many things around us are conspiring to pull us down. It's like there's a conspiracy, Kevin. Everything and everyone is pulling our energy down. And when I ask people this question, who's conspiring to pull you up? Who's conspiring to lift you up? Well, maybe apart from you, Kevin.
We're trying.
You're trying. I mean, there are very few people who are conspiring to lift us up. So it's only ourselves. We can only do this for ourselves.
Correct.
And so if we find that stillness within, through meditation, through quiet time, and it doesn't take a lot of time. I'm talking 5 minutes, 10 minutes each day to have that connectedness with the being within, i.e. the soul, who I am really, then that can give me a surge of spiritual energy. When I am energized, it's amazing. Things around me don't pull me down. When my energy is low, everything can knock me flat.
Absolutely. When your energy is high, you can do anything.
Exactly.
You can do anything.
And you will not allow other people to pull you down. On the contrary, when your energy is high, you actually help to uplift the spirits of others.
Absolutely.
And so we need a new kind of conspiracy, if you like. We need a new way of being in the world, knowing that the darkness may be there right now, the traumas may be there, and we do have to face them and work through them. But we also need a new way of being. And I think that's really my message. That's really what I'm trying to share with people, along with some of the tools of how to get there.
Great. And we're going to talk to Joanne in Seattle because she's got a question for you, Nikki.
Wonderful.
Joanne, how are you?
Just fine, thank you.
Very good. You're talking to Nikki De Carteret.
Yes.
Hello, Joanne.
Hello. I just happened to tune in your program today, and so fascinating. Well, my hubby's been gone about 2.5 years.
So what's your question?
My question is, I'm finding these Emotions of a roller coaster, highs and lows, and my choice of men seemed to be...
Can you speak up a little bit, Joanne?
My choice in men seemed to be more takers than givers. I'm the giver. And I'm, I guess, trying to get back into a reality check with myself here instead of being so impatient and low self-esteem at times. It's just a roller coaster of feelings and emotions that I keep going through. So I'm anxious to purchase your book and get some more insight here, some more light on life.
Well, Joanne, I think what you've raised is I think you've reflected the mood of a lot of people out there, and I really appreciate your question because it's very personal, you know. And one of the things that I find right now, and people have been asking me about relationships, is that we are in a very difficult time of human relationships. People, when they are on different emotional roller coasters, feel quite fragile. And in that time, it's very difficult to be in a relationship of giving and taking, because often we find that there's inequality that comes into the picture. And usually what I share with people, if you're experiencing that right now, what might be helpful to think about, and it's just a thought, is to pull away for a little while from relationships. Not that you're not engaged with people, but from maybe being committed in a relationship.
That's what I'm doing.
Take that time to really be with yourself. Develop that healthy self-esteem through positive thoughts, through good thoughts for the self. Like, make it a focus on the self. Not obsessional, I don't mean it that way, but make it very practical, make it real, make it loving. You make that time with yourself very loving, so that when we come into a place of greater harmony and respect for ourselves, then it's much easier to come into relationships that are going to bring joy from both sides. And so I think you're absolutely right. This might be that time for you to spend on yourself right now.
Definitely.
Joanne, thank you so much for giving us a call today.
Thank you.
And I hope you buy the book. It's called Soul Power.
Yeah, and you can get it from most of the stores in town. I think from Barnes & Noble or East West Bookstore or Borders, any of those you can call and see. It should be there.
Great. Thank you. I'm looking forward to reading it.
Thank you for your call, Joanne.
Thank you, Joanne.
Bye-bye.
You know, that brings up an interesting point, Nikki, and that is that everyone has to be in tune with themselves before they can have an impact or be part of somebody else's life, don't you think?
Definitely, because, you know, and I hope Joanne's still listening to this, because, you know, one of the things that can happen is that when we are not in our own soul power, then it's very easy for other people to drain our energy. In some of the seminars that I run around what are our power drainers, you know, Kevin, you'd be amazed. Most people tell me that their power drainers are other people.
Yep. They're energy vampires is what we call them.
They're energy vampires. And so if we are in those kinds of relationships, then it pulls us even further into a spiral of low self-esteem. So we need to sort of de-link in a way. I mean, de-hook ourselves from those kinds of relationships and have that space to build up our own integrity and our own sense of power from within.
Well, one of the things that we do a lot here on this show is we talk to people who have a positive mission that are going through, you know, let's take yourself as an example. When you had your accident, you had a couple of choices you could have made. You could have felt sorry for yourself.
Absolutely.
And just let it go and then had a life of feeling sorry for yourself. But you chose not to do that, and you chose to become a more spiritual person and to help people through your experiences. And a lot of people are not able to do that yet. They will be.
Well, I think because it's a process, Kevin. You used the word earlier in the program. And, you know, I went through much later on in my life, in my 30s, I went through a second kind of trauma where I had an accident and I fell on the stairs and I really hurt my back quite badly and spent, I would say, the next 8 years in recovery. And at one point, I couldn't walk. I was almost paralyzed. And I spent quite a few years traveling around in a wheelchair. And people, when they see me today, they don't believe that could have happened. But at one point in my healing process, I did feel very sorry for myself. It's amazing how, with all of the spirituality you have, sometimes those very deep subconscious patterns of feeling a victim or feeling sorry for yourself can kick in. And one of the things that I came to realize very deeply on the spiritual path is sometimes you can't will yourself into healing. that it also involves, and this is what I also write about in the book, it also involves a process of learning how to let go of very deeply ingrained negative patterns and habits that we carry with us, and coming to a place of deep acceptance. And this we're not taught how to do in our culture.
No.
We're not.
We're taught how to go. We're supposed to go do stuff.
Exactly. So we're taught to break through, but sometimes in the healing process you can't break through. That does not work. What works is coming to a deep place of acceptance that this is going on for me, and accept the emotions, accept the reality. So when I accepted deeply that I could face the possibility of being disabled for the rest of my life, and believe me, that was a deep level of acceptance, because I went from a tennis player to being disabled. But when I accepted it deeply, Kevin, that's when my healing kicked in.
Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing. So, we have to learn two sides of this equation. Our attitude needs to be good, plus we need acceptance. And it's that acceptance part that I find, that's also one of my messages, is really how do we get to that place? Because that's what helps us move beyond the wall when we hit the wall in life.
Yes, indeed. And you also have a website, do you not, Nikki?
I do, and if people want to find out more about the book and about the seminars, they can contact me at www.soul, S-O-U-L, power, seminars, with an S.com. soulpowerseminars.com.
Oh, wonderful. And now, where are you living now?
I'm living in Vancouver, but as I joke with my friends, I'm hardly here.
Yeah.
I think I live here on a sort of a third-time basis. And I'm leaving in about 4 days' time. I also travel and work a lot in the Middle East. So I'm leaving for the Middle East, and then I'll be back over here in September again. Which
is another place that needs an enormous amount of healing.
It really does, yes. So we have to do a lot of light work over there.
We have been talking with Nikki De Carteret, and she has written the book called Soul Power, The Transformation That Happens When You Know. And you know that when you know is when you really know, right?
When you really know, deep in yourself. Not at the head level, but really in your heart, in your being. That's when you know.
And we have appreciated talking to you. You need to come back. Can I call you back and have you come back again?
I would love to come back. And I'd like to come back and do it in the studio with you, Kevin.
I would love to
be there live in Seattle. I love Seattle.
I would love to have you here. We've got a beautiful view of Bellevue, Seattle, and the Olympics, so you need to come back.
I will definitely do that, Kevin. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the time. Again, we've been talking with Nikki De Carteret. She's written the book Soul Power. You can pick it up at most major retailers, Amazon.com, and all of those places. I heartily recommend it. It's a great book. Nikki, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
You have a great afternoon, and we'll be talking to you soon. We got to take a break, and when we come back, it'll be our pal Jerry Armmor's coming on, and we're going to talk about nutrition. Hang with us. We'll be back right after these messages. And welcome back to Positive Talk Radio. And one of my favorite people in the whole world is here. And we're just happy as heck to have Jerry Armmor from the Good Health Pantry. And he's kind of wandered up the street because his shop is located right down in Factoria in Loman's Plaza, right below us. And he's incredibly busy at his store these days. And we're just so pleased that that's happening. Jerry, how are you?
Pretty good. A little bit laid back today because, the holiday and all the food and all the junk and everything.
Oh, yes. Now, did you enjoy, what'd you do on the 4th?
I think I went to JCPenney and bought a couple shirts.
I guess when you've been through as many 4th of Julys as you've been through, it's kind of old hat, isn't it?
You kidding? I can remember George and his boys. Yeah, right.
George Washington and
of course.
George W., which is the different George W. than we got now.
That's right.
So, and Jerry, your store down at the Good Health Pantry, again, which is down in Factoria, right down here.
Right.
I love the fact that you've got a whole line of stuff that you developed.
Yeah. There's a company called Oregon Health, and Oregon Health is in Arizona. And that's
someday you'll have to explain that to me.
Yeah, it makes sense. Well, they're natives of Oregon, and they moved to Arizona.
Yep.
To get some heat. I think it's 120 today.
Yes, it is.
I mean, that's not my kind of weather. But the point is, I developed substances for them because it's a 100% natural company. In other words, they don't do anything chemically. They have no additives. The worst thing they use is rice flour as a filler, and magnesium stearate, which is a neutral filler. And the reason I went with them is because everything is purely natural.
And so consequently, you have studied biochemistry, and you are a nutritionist.
Right.
And so you can help people kind of structure their diet and the supplements that they can take to help their diets work out a little bit better for them.
Yeah.
And so if you would like to talk to Jerry about whatever it is, and that includes things like fibromyalgia and toxic syndromes and high stress and cholesterol and all that good stuff, if you'd like to talk to him about some of those things, we can do that now. If you'd like to give us a call, 425-373-5527, or if that's long distance for you, 888-298-5569, and we'll put Jerry on the spot. I can tell you this is what he does in his store every day. People walk in and they say stuff like, okay, my doctor just said that I have high blood pressure. How am I going to fix that, Jerry? And Jerry will say,
CoQ10 and olive leaf extract.
and they'll say, huh? Yeah, because now what is CoQ10?
CoQ10 is a nutrient without which you cannot live. In other words, if you don't get CoQ10 in your food, your heart's going to stop.
What kind of foods does it come in? Does it come in everything?
Well, generally speaking, in this country, it's a little difficult to come by because it's not a vegetable substance. It comes from meat, primarily lamb and particularly mutton. And the countries that eat mutton have very, very little heart disease, like Scotland and New Zealand, for instance. And, of course, Australia, but there's a difference there because Australia has different habits, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they have a high-octane diet.
Well, the immigrants from England that established the Australian government or whatever country were alcoholics, actually.
Oh, yeah. Well, you got to remember, originally it was a penal colony.
Yes, exactly.
And all the folks that came from there, they have a pub mentality. If they decide what they're going to do, and then they go to the pub to celebrate it, and which they're wonderful people.
Oh, I know. My daughter lived there for about 4 years, and she was crazy about it. She loved it.
I'm just curious, Jerry, what causes high blood pressure? Do you know?
High blood pressure would be a constriction of the arterial system. For example, plaque in your arteries. And plaque, of course, is nothing but undigested calcium and fat. And joined together develops this hard substance that can break off and go to your brain, part of it, and cause stroke too. So it's extremely important to use the nutrients that prevent plaque, and primarily L-carnitine, an amino acid, is the key. Generally.
Now, when you look at what the doctors, if you've got, for instance, high blood pressure, and they'll put you on medication versus what you can do naturally, do you think that you can do as well naturally as they can do chemically?
Thousands of times better.
Really, honestly?
Oh, yeah. The drugs are only a substitute for nutrition, and they are only a temporary way of changing things in your body. And sometimes, most of the time, the drugs cause liver damage, and liver damage is pretty serious. I mean, to me, liver damage and heart damage are very similar. They do pretty much the same thing, and we call that death.
Yeah. Well, you can't live without your heart, and you can't live without your liver.
Exactly.
And as a matter of fact, we had a gentleman on who now is a dance instructor who went through a period of time where he ended up having a liver transplant.
Oh, yes.
Because he had an incurable liver disease.
Well, this tells you something about the medical industry, whether you like it or not. There is no substitute for your health. And when you take a drug, you're only covering over symptoms. And if you don't cover over the symptoms, then you have the organ replaced. And to me, this is cannibalism. I cannot see it. I had serious arrhythmia for a period of time in the 80s.
Now, what exactly is arrhythmia?
Arrhythmia is irregular heartbeat.
Okay.
And it's usually caused, it can be caused by many different things, but it's usually a defect in the left ventricular. And that, of course, is your heart. The left ventricular is part of your heart. And I took this as an experiment when CoQ10 was first introduced in the United States. And I took it with olive leaf extract, which I talked about, and I'm cured. Totally.
So you no longer have a irregular heartbeat.
As long as I take the CoQ and the olive leaf extract, I'm fine.
Now, if you stop taking it, will that come back?
I don't know, and I'm not taking any chances. And that's the whole point.
You're not willing to do an experiment on yourself, I guess.
No. Well, see, these things vary from person to person. I mean, there are so many variations of heart problems, and this is a very complex thing. And it's very important to take certain nutrients. We call it CCME, which is CoQ10, carnitine, magnesium, and vitamin E. These are essential for your heart, for the health of your heart. Absolutely essential. There are no drugs on this planet that are essential for anything. They cover over symptoms. Now, there are some drugs that can cure. I've seen it. But how do you differentiate? I mean, as a lay person, like most of my customers, how do they tell? I mean, the only way they can tell is they come in and they check with me, and I give them whatever information I have. Mm-hmm. And I tell everyone to stay away from drugs.
Absolutely. And don't do drugs. It's just not good for you.
Well, when they say don't do drugs, they differentiate between the good drugs and the bad drugs. I don't differentiate between any of them. I think marijuana and Tylenol are two of the same genre, except I would rather be on the marijuana, to tell you the truth.
Well, and honestly, marijuana you can make a suit out of, where you can't do that with aspirin.
Exactly.
America's looking at me like, what in the world are you talking about?
We should disclaim things with the fact that Tylenol is not asprin.
Correct.
And I suppose you could
you
can make a suit out of Tylenol, but you couldn't wash it.
You can also make a lawsuit about Tylenol if it gives you liver disorder, and it does.
There you go.
That's right.
There
But
you go.
That's a suit in itself. Right
but
there.
hemp is and I'm just learning about this because hemp is marijuana plants, right?
Yes. The plant that grows marijuana is the hemp plant, and it's the strongest natural fiber known to man.
And yet we don't. And I've actually seen a shop in the University District that makes clothes out of hemp and that sort of thing. And I don't understand why, if it's the strongest fiber. Now, call me naive, but I don't understand why, if it's the strongest fiber known to man, and it can be used for so many things, and it grows plentifully, and it grows cheaply,
and it's natural,
and it's natural in any kind of soil, and we can use it.
George Washington grew hemp himself.
Did he really?
Yes, he did.
I'm surprised he didn't make teeth out of it, but.
He could have.
But I guess maybe I'm naive, but why don't we use hemp? I don't know.
It's political, but
Yes.
really, that's a whole other series of programs.
We're gonna, Jerry, you're gonna have to bone up on the hemp uses, and we're gonna talk about that next time.
Well, the ironic thing is that industrial hemp, as it's grown and used for manufacturing, does not contain the chemicals that are contained in marijuana that get people high. So, I mean, there's no even drug use reason for industrial hemp to be outlawed. It's political.
It's just because it is.
Right.
And it's far too cheap. Oh, and then you've got the lumber lobbies and all of those.
And your cotton lobby and your
Isn't
nylon
that-
lobby. And
all this
that,
politics. I find...
we're going to get Jerry going here.
I find that 3 gin and tonics work just as well for me as marijuana.
Yeah, but you know what? You can't wear gin and tonics unless you've had the 4th one, and then you're liable to wear it. But you can't wear it for clothes.
Well, the only problem with marijuana that I find is that it irritates my throat. I cough, and I can't do it. But when I do gin and tonic, I get the same feeling, and I sleep real well, too. So what's the difference? I don't see any difference.
And you wake up in a new suit, so
Yeah.
you didn't have to buy one.
But if you have 5 gin and tonics, you may wake up and you have no idea where you are.
That's right.
Or where your suit went.
Exactly. We're talking with Jerry Armmor from the Good Health Pantry. We're just having fun today. If you'd like to give us a call to talk something serious about nutrition and health, Jerry is here to answer your questions. So give us a call, 425-373-5527 or 888-298-5569. We need to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to have more with Jerry Armmor from the Good Health Pantry. Hang with us. Welcome back to Positive Talk Radio here on KKNW 1150 AM.
We're playing this one because I couldn't find the Doobie Brothers.
Well, it's interesting. And then we get into some of the politics of how, when you look at how silly some of it is, it's just amazing. But we're talking with Jerry Armmor, and we have a caller on the line that would like to talk to us about something that Jerry can help us with. Hi, what's your name, caller?
My name is Sukhdeep, and I have some health questions.
Very good. Jerry's right here.
How many of them?
I am almost 42 years old, and I have a high cholesterol, gout, and I'm taking 4 or 5 medicines, tablets every day.
That's very good. That's very good. You're right on the path to disaster.
So I am taking 2 tablets for my gout and 2 for blood pressure, and I have a high cholesterol also. But I'm not taking any medicine for high cholesterol.
Okay.
So can anything work so I can control my gout and blood pressure together with anything available with
for
you?
his
No,
gout.
you have to.
He has gout. Okay, I thought
You
you
have,
said he
you
had
have
a
to
goat.
treat. You have to treat these things separately. You can't take one medication for 3 to 5 different ailments because we haven't reached the point yet where we have that magic pill that's going to cure everything.
I keep asking, and you don't have it yet.
Exactly. Now, as far as high cholesterol is concerned, you should not be taking the drugs because they can cause very serious liver damage. So you're trading one problem for another, and I'd rather have high cholesterol than liver problems. The high cholesterol is used, what we use for that is something called red yeast rice. This is the beginning of every drug. The only thing is you can't patent red yeast rice because it's a food which comes from China, and you must add chemicals, and the chemicals in them are what cause the liver problems, not the red yeast rice. So what you do, you go to a health food store, a vitamin store like mine, and you buy red yeast rice. You take it for 60 days, and you're fine. Your pressure goes to normal. If you want to keep...
What about my gout?
Pardon me?
The gout.
My gout.
The gout? Gout?
Yes.
If I were you, I would go to a supermarket and buy Knudsen's cherry juice. And take about 8 ounces a day. It's delicious. For about 30, 60, 90 days, whatever, or permanently. It's a great juice. Instead of using orange juice or all the other stuff, use cherry juice.
Now say that again.
Cherry juice. Now, black cherry juice.
Okay. And at this season, we can even eat a lot of cherries right now.
You're just not going to get enough juice out of eating cherries.
Okay,
I eat a pound or so every day. I'm nuts for cherries. But point is, you just don't get quite enough juice. You're getting a little bit more fiber, which is good.
But I can start taking juice, and can I stop taking medicine for gout or not?
Take what for gout?
He's taking medicine.
There is no medicine for gout.
There are a couple that you can get.
Yes, but they don't work.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
So now the other one. What about the one now? Now I'm going to slaughter the name. Bromine or bromelain. Bromelain. Yeah.
Bromelain is very helpful.
And that is extract of pineapple, right?
Yes, pineapple stems.
And that is an anti-inflammatory.
Exactly. Very good anti-inflammatory, by the way. It should be taken with vitamin C and quercetin.
So if you were to take vitamin C and whatever that was.
Well, there is a company, a lot of companies, but the main company that I know of, Solaray, makes something called QBC, which is quercetin, bromelain, vitamin C. Combination works better than the individual ones.
And I sympathize with you, caller, because I'm telling you, gout is probably one of the most painful experiences known to man.
Yeah, no question about it.
When you have a full-blown outbreak of that stuff. So
yeah, it's difficult to even walk when I have gout attacks.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you can also get the cherry juice in capsule form, which would be a little higher potency than the juice itself.
It's available at your stores?
Pardon me?
Is available at your store, Jerry?
Yeah.
Now, not the grape juice, though.
No, the cherry juice.
Or cherry juice.
No, cherry juice has to be pure Knudsen. Knudson is the only company that I know that makes a quality cherry juice without the additives and all the water and all the stuff that gives them extra profit. This is the real stuff.
So this is just 8 ounces a day, and he can throw the medication away after a while.
Absolutely.
Because the medications they give you, how do they affect you? They're kind of painful to take too. They have side effects, don't they?
Yeah, it can affect the kidney also, and I don't like them. It keeps my mouth dry. And it has maybe a lot of side effects also.
Yeah, it does. Right, exactly. It does cause dryness, mouth dryness, mainly because it's a type of medication that takes the moisture out of your body. And you don't want that.
And it's 300 milligram of allopurinol
Oh, yeah.
and colchicine.
Yeah.
So they are both, and plus I have to take medicine too for blood pressure every day. So I start my day with 4 tablets.
Do you live in Bellevue or nearabouts?
I work in Kirkland, but I can do anything for my health.
I would go see Jerry, and he'll set you up. And
Can I make appointment with them or call them and whatever, I can meet them personally?
Well, as far as an appointment's concerned, we are a store that takes care of customers, and, we don't do appointments, but generally speaking, if you give me a call, we can make some kind of appointment. I'd have to be careful because we have those peak times, particularly between 12 and 1.
I can come off when you are not very busy. I can come anytime because I can do anything for my health. I can travel. I can spend money. I want to talk with you.
Well,
and I will appreciate your help.
Well, actually, between 4 and 6, it kind of slows down, but that's not a permanent thing. There are certain days where we're busy.
So,
all day long.
I can make a call before I come. So
exactly.
I can.
That would be your best bet.
Jerry, what's your number?
Area code 425-641-4279.
And I know that Jerry can help you. So thanks a lot for giving us a call, and go see him.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Have a great day.
And good luck with that goat.
The guy, I'm telling you though, I've had a bout or two with gout, and it can be the most painful.
With gout?
A bout with gout. It's not fun. I'm telling you.
What causes gout anyway?
Uric acid.
Exactly.
And
but how do you get too much uric acid?
Your body is not allowed to eliminate it. It's one of God's great little gifts to men. Women don't get this; only guys do.
Right.
And uric acid is something that our bodies just don't eliminate. So it stores up, and it stores up in the joints, and then it solidifies and calcifies in the joints.
Okay, but where does it come from?
It comes from a bad diet.
Yes.
Too much of certain types of food. Too much meat.
Too much meat.
And of course, why do men get it and not women? Well, men eat more meat than women do.
So women can't get gout.
Oh, they can get it, but it's
they just generally
pretty
don't.
rare.
Yeah. It's God's little gift to us because we eat too much meat. Probably beer and chocolate has something to do with it. Who knows?
Sugar.
So you need to be
very interesting.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, when it gets in the joints, and it can really deform your joints. And
yeah.
It can be really painful.
You really have to understand that we are an advanced society.
Now, there are people who would quibble with you
with
about
a big
that.
question mark.
Exactly.
What are we advanced in? Okay, we eat too much fat. We eat too much sugar. We eat too much meat. We're meat eaters in this country. Men brag about eating steak. Big deal. Frankly, I don't even like steak, but that's beside the point. You do get, when you're in nutrition for 30 some odd years, you learn subconsciously not to eat certain things. Now, I've never learned subconsciously how to stay away from sugar because, we talk about the ice cream freak, which I am.
Yeah.
And it's the only big problem I have. Recently, I have been very thirsty. I guess, the weather. The weather's been summer-like for quite some time now, and I've been drinking a lot of pop, root beer. I like root beer. I hate Coca-Cola. I just don't like it. And I feel the difference. I'm more lethargic. I'm tired. I'm this, that, and the other thing. But the point being that you do get into a habit. You get into these ruts. It's the same thing with people who smoke. It's the same thing with people and their sugar. The ruts. And soda pop is one of the bad deals in our society.
Well, and talk about empty calories.
Yes.
I just want to say, though, if you're going to have the root beer, that Thomas Kemper, you can't do much
That's
better
the only
than
one
that.
I use.
That is very, very good.
I don't like any of the others.
So if you're out there listening, Thomas, and you want to send us a case, please do.
Absolutely. If you want to sponsor the
it.
program, we'd love to have you. See, my kids love Thomas Kemper. Every time we go to a restaurant, they buy it. Why?
Don't overdo it, but delicious.
It's in a brown bottle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You know how easy.
So they're 12 years old, and it looks like
yeah.
the real stuff.
Looks like beer.
Yes.
Do you know how easy it is to become addicted to things like this? And when I say addiction, it doesn't have to be like cigarettes or a permanent addiction, drugs, but soda pop and certain candies, certain ice creams.
There goes our free case.
There you go. Oh no.
You just had to ruin it.
Well, it's really true. And one of the things that you have to battle when you are addicted to something and you want to change it is you have to change your mind at the subconscious level. And there's only one person that I know who can do that extraordinarily well, and that would be, oh, look who's here. Katie Evans, how are you?
Why, thank you, Kevin.
But that's true, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, yeah, you change them both. You change your behavior and you change the underlying causes.
Yeah,
you got to do it both at the same time.
Because it's like a giant Xerox machine in your subconscious, and it just kind of puts out what you put in.
Absolutely. It's this big dummy in there. Just doing things by habit. Okay, let's just move again.
Exactly.
Drink some more, eat some more.
If you're wondering, Katie Evans has the Lighten Up program, and she does great stuff, and her show is right on after this one at 1:06, which is, gosh, about 8 minutes from now.
Ah, yes. And my guest today is Miriam Reese. Miriam, we're going to talk about stress and setting healthy boundaries, which we're not very good at in this country. I don't know about other countries because this is, where I live.
Yeah. Setting healthy boundaries like what?
Like learning how to say the N-word. No.
We can? Oh, Jerry and I are going to discuss that. We're going to go have a 16-ounce steak right after.
And I'm going to go take a bath in root beer.
And a couple of beers, and you're good to go. I'm going to join you with that gin and tonic.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Drink our lunch. We haven't done that since the 70s, have we?
No.
We know that because we're still alive.
Exactly. So coming up next again.
Miriam Reese, setting boundaries, reducing stress.
Because stress will kill you.
Yeah.
Along with darn near everything else.
That's any fun.
So it seems. Although, actually, Jerry and I are going to go have some wheat germ. So we'll be back right after. No.
It's not going to kill you, but you'll wish you were dead.
Jerry Armmor, Good Health Pantry, down in Factoria. What's your phone number again?
Area code 425-641-4279.
If it's too far for you to go see Jerry, he'll mail stuff to you. So you can have it. Katie Evans is next, 1:06. Katie, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Kevin.
Jerry Armmor, it's wonderful to see you again. We'll see you next week.
Okay.
And Eric, as always, go have a nice bath and root beer.
Will do.
And be positive. Do something nice for somebody. We'll be back tomorrow. Hey, and thanks for listening to this episode all the way to the end. Hey, pretty cool. Hey, don't forget to follow us so you can receive regular updates and new posts. And remember, take care of each other because each other's all we got. See you next time on My Independent Truth.